Okay, I'm calling to order the Citizens Involvement Committee meeting of August 2nd, 2012, without slamming the gavel. And Dennis, are you out there?
Yes, he is.
I'd like you to call the roll. I'd like to at first welcome Hunter Pico as the second representative of the Hillendale Neighborhood Association. So welcome, Hunter. If you're out there, we're pleased to have you as part of the group. And Dennis, please call the roll.
Yes, beginning with Barclay Hills. Carla Laws.
Aye.
Is Dee Dee here?
Present.
Linda Basinger.
Here.
Kanema. I'm here. John Keys from Caulfield.
Here.
Is Kevin Schaffner here? Gaffney Lane, Amy.
I'm here.
Hazel Grove is inactive. Hillendale, we have Sarah. Yes, and we have our new member, Hunter. Present. Park Place, we have Steve. Here. Bob is here. Rivercrest, Karen Morey. Here. I believe that's it.
I think you skipped McLaughlin.
Oh, excuse me, Denise. McLaughlin from Denise, yes. Okay, did I miss anybody? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our next item is public comments, and I have one from Amy Wilhite.
Yeah, and I'll move it. Let's do that. Okay, you're set. All right, sorry about that, had to move. Thank you my name's Amy Wilhite, and I'm coming here tonight as a citizen of Oregon City. I have been approached by numerous members of the community in great concern over some practices that have been happening with the Community Development Department. If you've read the newspaper or if you've been following any of the social media, you'll know that there's been some controversy. Also, I have, as the chair of Gaffney Lane, sent multiple emails finding mistakes and errors in land use postings, some of which I believe should have required a repost and a restart. And I know I'm not the only one. I know there's lots of people out there. I helped to do a appeal for one of the neighborhood associations, and the information that they got from community development was not helpful. In fact, it was the opposite of helpful. And in fact, at one point they were asked if they would please let their appeal go and retract it. And I don't think that's appropriate on any level to ever ask an appellant to withdraw their appeal. They said it was going to make it more easy for them on the paperwork in the end, and that's just not okay. So I'm here as a citizen asking the CIC if they would be interested in sending a letter to the City Commission asking them to investigate the community development practices, whether they are written or not written, any of the practices that they have in place at this time. And so that's why I'm here.
I would support that question to our committee wholeheartedly.
I would support the letter if I had more specific examples, just not generalities.
I understand what you're saying. I've been asked to just ask for an overall review of the Community Development Department, to ask the City Commission, and they can determine their best practice going forward.
Yes, go ahead, Carla.
I'm the chair of Barclay Hills Neighborhood Association. We're representing an appeal. I'm not going to give any information on that, but there's been a lot of bad practices that haven't been legit. The posting of it was behind bushes. The neighbors, a lot of the neighbors there have no idea what's going on. It's a huge impact, and it's not fair to them. And for, you know, me as the chair, running as the secretary, as for my neighborhood association as well, you know, I'm limited to what I can do. And I know that if these citizens contacted planning, they would not get the right information.
We have been given misinformation more than once. Misinformation.
I don't trust I'm not going to say all, but the majority of the staff, I don't trust them.
So in my hat as chair of, or the CIC representative for Gaffney Lane, I would like to make a motion for the CIC to send a letter to the city commission asking them to do a review of practices of the community development department, both their written and non-written practices.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to have the city commission investigate the practices of the community development department or the planning department?
Community development.
Community development department. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Bob, is Karen.
Yes.
I think without further information and maybe a subcommittee looking into some of these issues, I am not comfortable voting on something like this. I understand there's always people not happy with how things are going, but we don't have enough facts or enough information.
Well, we're not,
vote on a letter.
sorry. I'm not proposing that we do the investigation. I'm proposing the city commission is able to do that. So they would be able to set up if they wanted to ask for outside help or however they wanted to do it. Not us, because I don't think it's our place.
I'm still not sure what the issue is that would move it to the city commission as the first step. That is normally a last step.
It's because of all of the practices that have come to light recently that are not they're not best practice. And if you call around to other jurisdictions, they're not doing the same. And so it's just.
Then I need to see a report to that effect.
Then that's your right.
Join the subcommittee.
Yeah, I hear you, Karen. And that's your right. Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a question. Why is it difficult to discuss, at least generally, what the issue is? Aren't we big enough to understand what's going on, specific to a letter that we're going to draft to have them look into it?
Yeah, we don't know all of the things that might come up. I can give you examples that have happened. There was an emergency meeting called and what's her title? Community Development Director called several of the developers in the area to let them know that this emergency meeting was going to be happening, and if they needed to put in applications, they needed to hurry in and get it in that day or the next day, which if you check around to other jurisdictions, that's not best practice. There have been staff reports that are being given to developers before they are presented at public meeting, and the developers are allowed to, so that when they come to the public meetings, they already have comments drafted, or they can sometimes give input, and it's the staff letters are adjusted and revised before they even hit public record. There's been public notices that go out that have wrong dates on them, wrong information on them. They're using template. If there is a specific template on some of these, they're not using those. They're just copying, pasting from the ones before. So different staff members have a different look to theirs. It's not consistent. And so information is incorrect. So those are just a few of the things that have come to light recently.
Any other questions or comments? Carly, you still have?
Sorry. So the thing that happened recently is I think it was the 22nd, if I'm right, I'm trying to recall the date exactly, but
Might have been 21st.
okay, I was emailed a staff report. And then technically from that, you have 14 days after, which includes weekends. But in code, I think it's 17:50, you have 14 days after the staff report is issued. Some of the residents of Barclay Hills, and anyone around are limited to not being able to have technology, to maybe not be able to open 202 pages of report on their phone or be able to have access to a computer. And only one person got that report only on Wednesday, this week. And it's 202 pages that they have to look through. And it's not fair. Now, 5 of the residents who wrote a comment left their address. And Laura Turway specifically had told me that it's my responsibility as neighborhood chair, because Barclay Hills Neighborhood Association is fronting the appeal, that I have to relay 202 pages to all the residents who laid comment. And I don't have control over every person I know of who made a comment. And that wasn't fair to me as chair. It's not my responsibility to go outside of people I talk to. And I don't think it's fair for me to have to relay 202 pages to every resident who made a comment in my neighborhood.
The way I understand it is that a notification to neighbors or interested parties would have been to those people that had testified,
Whether
either
written
in writing or in
Mhm.
person.
And we're not getting those reports.
Exactly.
And that responsibility to notify those people would not be the responsibility of the neighborhood. It would be the responsibility of city staff.
Some people can't afford to print out 202 pages if we're talking about equity and inclusion and this city wants to embrace it. It's not all about the color of your skin, it's about economics. Some people can't afford to print out 202 pages. Thank you very much. It's not fair. That's $15 minimally, if not over $20. And that's was a utility bill.
Are there any other comments? Okay, as chair of the CIC, I hesitate to sign a letter in that regard without having specific examples, which if any of you have those specific examples to me, which you just mentioned, and you had emailed me about that situation, then I would be more than happy to pursue this. But I'm the kind of a person, I think you all know, that I do a lot of research on items, and if I make a statement or sign a letter, I need to have facts backing up my statements or whatever I say.
Bob, there is a motion on the table. So if you're not comfortable writing the letter, I'd be happy to write the letter. I don't think we should list specifics in the letter because we're asking them to review the community development practices. And if you just get specific, then that's implying you only want those investigated. So again, there's a motion made on the table, whether it passes or not, but I'd be happy to write the letter if you're not comfortable.
Well, I'd like to give it more thought, but shall we go ahead and ask for a vote? Dennis?
Yes. Okay, going on the list, Carla,
Aye.
Dee Dee,
Aye.
Linda,
No.
I say no. John Keys,
Abstain.
Amy,
Aye.
Sarah. You're mute.
Trying to. Sorry, just couldn't click. Aye.
Hunter,
Abstain.
Steve, Aye. Bob?
Abstain?
Karen?
No.
That's it? Let's see, what do we have? One.
McLaughlin says aye.
And McLaughlin, excuse me, I don't have you on my page.
Got a need.
The secretarial stuff is just over my head. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 yeses, 1 abstain, and 5
No.
passes.
Okay. Amy, would you like to draft that letter?
I will do that.
Thank you, and I'll sign it since it's the majority.
Could we all review the letter before it's sent?
Yeah, I can send it, I'll send it to everybody, but we can't discuss it online. So if you have any suggestions, but basically that's all I'm gonna say, is what exactly the motion. I'm not gonna list any examples, I'm just gonna ask.
Bob, this is Karen.
Yes, Karen?
Christina, can you mute, Zoom participants who are not currently speaking? I'm getting somebody's TV in the background in my ears.
Yes, I'm going to try to mute everybody and see if that helps.
Thank you.
Did that help? I muted everybody but me for the moment.
Well, they can't answer
can't
you
answer
now.
you now.
'cause they're-
I feel like Dennis now. Sorry, Karen, I'm muting you.
What a group. See how bad it gets when we all get together?
Confession.
Sorry, Karen, did that help? I muted you. Did you?
Yeah,
It did.
that did help, and I was not looking for a confession. I was just noticing that not everybody was muted.
Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Okay, we'll go back now to citizen comments. Paul Edgar put a late comment form to me, so Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Paul Edgar. I live in Kanema, and I've been very active over multi-decades in transportation issues. And tonight before you is going to be a presentation by Lucinda Broussard, who's a new neighbor in Kanema, living here from ODOT. What's important is this tolling of the I-205 corridor and what it really represents to the city of Oregon City. Because with tolling, you get rerouting, or another word is diversion of traffic. And people will drive an extra mile or a long ways or do crazy things just to not pay a toll. And if they start doing that, all of the side streets, there's Willamette Falls Drive across from Willamette there. People will go on that exit 10, come down, come across here, but they're going to be heading to the old, narrow, and truly unsafe old West Lynn, Oregon City Bridge. And that traffic will quadruple, maybe a hell of a lot more than just quadruple. And all of that traffic comes across the bridge. 80% of it will go immediately to the right to Main Street and Highway 99. When it hits Highway 99, the stoplight there goes crazy. Traffic does not move. And what that creates is a stoppage of a strategic urban freight route where thousands of jobs, the economies of Canby in a lot of areas and everything around here depend upon for the movement of people and freight. And this becomes out of control. And Highway 99E will be quadruple. 43 on the other side of the river going in through West Lynn will quadruple. All the side streets, all the people who know how to get from Tualatin to Oregon City without going on 205 will be hit. But what this really means is Why are we being targeted for a toll when other areas and streets are not even being considered, like I-84 or I-26? We don't have an option. So 98 to 99% of all the trips that go back and forth across the river go on the 205 bridge. The Abernathy Bridge is to be tolled all lanes in every direction. And because that's not enough, they have decided to go all the way out to the intersection, Stafford Interchange. And so from that place in, they're going to start creating tolling mechanism.
Hey, Paul,
Yes?
your 3 minutes is well over.
Well, I just hope that you start following this, because there was an email on the computer that said, why is it that people in Oregon City don't know anything about what's happening on tolling?
Thank you, Paul. Our next presentation is from John Lewis for an update on Public Works.
And John, you can share your screen from Zoom. Let me know if I should have allowed you to do that. Perfect.
Thank you, Christina. I'm getting there, trying to get there. I'm going to share one of my 3 screens. Hopefully do that correctly. Everybody see my presentation?
We can also see your notes too. That's helpful.
One more time, Christina?
We can see your notes as well. Oh, actually, we can see the verbal, that's amazing. Never mind. We get to see a closed caption. That's really neat.
Yeah, I'm sharing it on screen.
You better not say something wrong, John, it's on record.
Let me see. It's slowing down here.
That's really cool.
Yeah, looks like it's gone now. You've ruined all our fun.
So what are you seeing now?
Just you.
You. Now a telephone in a green circle.
I mean, you can keep it. I mean, it's great. It provides for the viewers who maybe can't hear. They can hear what you say. So it's great added technology. So you can continue, John.
How about now?
We just see your face.
That's weird. That is really weird.
Beautiful profile.
You look good, John.
I just got my hair cut. They cut my hair too short.
I noticed that.
I am struggling.
You got hair.
Let me try this again. Why is this not quite working?
It was, and I ruined it by talking. I'm sorry.
Okay. Apologize for this. So are you seeing the Public Works update to citizens?
No.
Whatever you did the first time, do that again, because that was the right screen.
For the life of me, I haven't had this problem before. I'm not sure what's changed, but I'm getting. I'm doing lots of things here, but nothing's working well.
Oh, I guess
About now.
we can.
There you go, that's it.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, back on track. Good evening, everybody. Well, you can still see that is super weird. I'm not quite sure why you're getting my speech, but
It's for Dee Dee.
you get it, I guess. So I'm gonna do a Public Works update to the Citizen Involvement Committee and try to get through it quicker than I just did getting the screen getting the PowerPoint on my screen. Just real quick, the agenda, I'm gonna cover some transportation topics. I know Lucinda's here, so I've got a couple of I-205 slides, but I'm going to just touch on those and let her take provide you with the better update. But we want to talk about several other transportation projects, some utility projects, and some programs. So with regard to the ODOT transportation project, during the recent legislative session of House Bill 3055, it was passed in providing the project, and I'll define the project a little better, $375 million in funding for Phase 1A, which is the Abernathy Bridge section. And so there's originally this was broken into two phases. The light blue phase, which is really from Stafford to, I want to say around 10th, and then in West Lynn, and then from 10th to pretty much 213 was Phase 1. ODOT has since broken Phase 1 into 4 phases, and the phase that they funded is the phase that's shown in green. And that includes the widening and seismic retrofit of the Abernathy Bridge. On the West Lynn side, the interchange of 205 and Highway 43 will change drastically with new roundabout, and the current West Lynn on-ramp onto 205 northbound will be removed, and so that whole interchange will change significantly from both a driver who's just trying to stay on Highway 43 to one who's trying to get onto I-205 as well. So pretty big changes on the West Lynn side from that configuration. And on the Oregon City side, there will be a slight reconfiguration to the 99E on and off ramps. And then it was approved to put a sound wall near the Cove apartments. So as you're driving southbound, instead of seeing the Cove apartments, there'll be a sound wall there. And then there'll also be a small retaining wall, or it's actually a pretty good sized retaining wall, but it's not very long, along Main Street Extension. And I guess it's generally between 16th and 17th Street on Main Street Extension. Final plans for the Phase 1A project are scheduled to be completed October of 2021. This project is moving very fast. We've seen the 90% plans, and I think they have our comments on the 90% plans. The project is scheduled to start in July of 22. The construction project is scheduled to start in July 2022. And the intent last we heard was 4 in-water work windows with the completion expected by the end of 2025. The exception of that is in November, really in November of 2021 and March 2022, they're planning to do some early tree removals to avoid any nesting of migratory birds that might choose to use some of the trees. And there's trees along 205 that would be removed, especially in that sound wall area. I'm not sure how far they're going with the tree removals, but if they stick to the Phase 1A boundaries, it will probably mostly impact the area along 205 where that sound wall will go. They'll also be removing some trees underneath the 205 bridge, really between John Storm Park and Sportcraft Landing. So that's it for that project, and Lucinda may have more updated information or better information. So just know I didn't realize she was going to be on tonight until I looked at the agenda. Vehicle registration fees. If you remember, in February 2019, the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners approved an ordinance setting a $30 per year countywide vehicle registration fee, and this fee they started collecting it in January of 2020, and 40% of the funds collected will be distributed to cities within Clackamas County. Each agency has identified and will continue to identify projects that would be funded through those funds. But if you're curious how Oregon City is using our local share of the Clackamas County registration fee, we're trying to balance both the needs as they pertain to pedestrians and bicyclists, as well as addressing congestion management. So our first few projects focused on those walking, biking, and rolling kinds of projects. And moving forward, we'll still be focusing on as many concerns as we can. Those funds are a little bit more flexible than some of our other funds. So for instance, transportation SDCs, those are limited pretty much to growth-related projects. Our pavement maintenance utility fee is related to paving projects. So we have some flexibility with the little bit of funding we have for gas taxes, but this vehicle registration fee really, while it needs to be spent on transportation projects, it doesn't have the same kind of limitations that an SDC or a pavement maintenance utility fee would have. So some of the first projects are the rectangular flashing beacon on Malala Avenue at Barkley Hills Drive. This improved crossing will continue to provide safe crossing opportunities for residents there locally in that neighborhood. Gaffney Lane street widening and sidewalk infill project. If you haven't driven this, it used to be a bottleneck where there was really no sidewalks from near the school and to the neighborhood on Gaffney Lane. So the project, has opened that up for pedestrian ways on both sides of the street, and then there's a pedestrian crossing, not a rapid flashing beacon, but a pedestrian crossing there with a speed hump. So that was a long time desire by staff and I know by the neighborhood. So we're happy to get that one done. And then we're just now getting underway with 2021 flashing beacon projects. Holcomb Boulevard in the Park Place neighborhood is getting 2 new rapid flashing beacons at Front Avenue and Swan Avenue, and this should provide safer crossing opportunities for that area. Lynn Avenue at Williams Street. So if you're familiar with Gardner Middle School, the school district was through land use was required to build a nice wide sidewalk from the school out to Lynn Avenue, adjacent to the church. So this project will complete that pedestrian improvement with a rapid flashing beacon at that crosswalk location. So with regard to Williams Street and some of the other things I'm going to talk about, we're really trying to get kids to school safer, middle school kids, hopefully the kind of kids that parents will allow to walk to school. So we're also planning some sidewalk infill in that area, we've got PMUP projects planned between that gridded section of streets. I don't remember all the streets names in there, but really between Gardner Middle School and Lynn Avenue. And so when we're doing that, we're also wanting to complete at least a sidewalk on one side of those roadways and do that using some of this. Those sidewalk projects are going to be funded both using SDCs and these registration fees. We're also doing some sidewalks on 8th Street and John Adams Street. If you're paying attention to this year's construction project, you'll notice that. So So upcoming projects, again, we mentioned the Gardner Middle School sidewalk. That's kind of yet to happen project. Most of that sidewalk infill will happen in 2022. We also have several improvements that were identified as the busiest intersections we have. The project will convert the existing yield turn into a free flow movement and include an acceleration lane onto Highway 213. So that project will be possible because of some of these vehicle registration fees. And then we've been doing a lot of traffic signal upgrades as part of our countywide transportation system management and operations grant. We will be getting new traffic signal controllers throughout the city. And I don't know if you're familiar or been paying attention, but some of the new signal heads, they've got the reflective yellow backing behind the signal, just so that they're at night, especially, they're real obvious to the driver. So without these vehicle registration fees, I know I've got a couple vehicles myself, and I know it's not fun to pay fees, but this definitely has helped deliver several meaningful projects for Oregon City. Malala Avenue, best I can say about Malala Avenue is it's on time and on budget. We had originally planned to complete that project in November of 2021. I anticipate having that a little early. There may be, it'll definitely be open, full lanes, full with most things, or maybe some punch list items that'll go that late in the year, but really we're working on concrete work on the west side, starting to wrap that up. August, you'll see the base lift paving on the west side go down. Base lift paving between Beaver Creek Road and Garden Meadow will be finished. And the first part of August, we'll continue to have traffic on the east side of Fred Meyer, or on the east side of Malala Avenue, which would be the Fred Meyer side. And so just keep in mind, we'll continue to push traffic to the east and continue to work on these different improvements that are happening on the west side. Additional street lights on the west side. The signal heads or signal poles will still go up. All the pedestrian push button activated things will go up. Irrigation, they're still working on irrigation in the flower baskets, so that the flower baskets that hang on those street lights will have irrigation to them. And then, of course, we've got 3 mid-block crossings that have yet to start. So they've still got a lot of work to do, but they're feeling good about their progress. So look for more to happen there. I can't think of a project that's gotten more updates. I don't know how everybody gets their information, but we're pushing it out through social media, and I hope that is helpful. It is a lot, so it's not a one-sentence kind of a message, so you kind of got to read through the details to get it, but I hope that's been effective. Just real quick, Park Place urbanization plan is something that's moving through the land use process, so we've been working with the neighborhood on really just a lot, especially kind of the lower end of the Park Place neighborhood was developed under county standards. So some of those roadways, it's kind of questionable about what's going to be there in the future for sidewalks or curbs and how best, how we should prioritize sidewalks and curbs and bike lanes. So this was an effort to try and get to a priority list and have something in the file so that staff, every time a small development, there's mostly small development opportunities in that lower end of Park Place. So as they come in, what are we really requiring in terms of sidewalks or planter strips, or are we going to just live with the shoulder as opposed to a sidewalk? So the Park Place urbanization plan has done that, and it's now moving through the land use process. Paving projects, we're done with our chip seal and our slurry seal. So if you've been on those or lived near those, hopefully you've seen that. It's kind of our traditional annual workload. If you were on South End or Warner Parrott on the day that they were chip sealing that. I guess I'll just apologize now. I know there was times that it was pretty inconvenient, but I think they worked through it, and it looks really good now. So we're happy about that. And then FEMA projects have been mostly focused on some of those sidewalk improvements that I mentioned earlier, and I don't think they've yet to bring a paver in. So more to come on that. And just this list up the top here kind of lists all those projects. The one I'm most apologetic about is the High Street improvements. It seems like High Street's been under construction for 3 years now. So just know that when we do a reconstruct of a facility like High Street, that was a comprehensive rebuild of utilities, and both public utilities and private utilities. So it has been a long haul there, and we're hoping to finish that up this summer and not have to look at High Street for a very, very, very long time. Utilities, quickly, just wanted to acknowledge that city staff are working with Clackamas River Water District staff on cleaning up boundary changes that should have happened years ago. So the Clackamas River boundary continues to include many Oregon City customers who don't receive Clackamas River water anymore. Their boundary, if you have paid attention to it, includes 5 different neighborhoods, and maybe not the entire neighborhood, but portions of the neighborhoods of Hazel Grove, Westling Farms, Tower Vista, Hillendale, Gaffney Lane, and Caulfield. So whenever there's a vote on a Clackamas River water issue, I know I personally, because I'm in one of those areas, like some of you, may get a Clackamas River ballot or be able to vote on Clackamas River board of directors, for instance. And so for years they've been wanting that to get cleaned up. It used to be that those would de-annex as the properties annexed, and for a variety of reasons that hadn't been happening. So we've got a large area that we need to clean up, and we're working on that with the Clackamas River Water District. 2021 water lines, new pressure reducing valves in the Kenema neighborhood. So Kenema neighborhood's going to get hit for sure with some water shutdowns as they move through that. There's some small diameter work on 13th Street off of Washington, and some small repairs in the Barkley Hills neighborhood near Chicory and Peter Skeen. We're also doing some work on the storm pond down there in the canyon by there's a wastewater pump station right down at the bottom of Peter Skeen. So Barkley Hills neighborhood, we're doing good things in your neighborhood, but they're kind of things that shouldn't affect you much unless you're neighboring one of those projects. Sanitary sewer, not a lot to say other than we're moving forward with some updates to the sanitary design standards. So that's going to be in front of the City Commission here on the 4th. Pretty basic standards, mostly pipe types and things that most people don't necessarily care about. We're trying to get ourselves set up right for the sewer rehab projects. So making sure we're covering those kinds of requirements. Speaking of sanitary sewer rehab, there's the Rivercrest neighborhood is going to become very familiar with rehab because that's one of the first big neighborhoods. We've been doing some things in and around the Rivercrest neighborhood, and we're going to be doing some more. So look for that. That's a pretty large project when it comes out. Trillium Park Drive sanitary sewer relocation, that's complete. So that's in the McLaughlin neighborhood. Got some small pump station repairs and some small sewer repairs that are also kind of in that line of I&I rehab, but they're not specific to the Rivercrest Basin. Stormwater, well, in July, the City Commission adopted new stormwater SDCs. So they went from 956 per equivalent residential unit to 1,070 per ERU. So an SDC is a one-time fee imposed on new development at the time of development. The charge is intended to recover a fair share of the cost of the system capacity needed to serve growth. System development charges provide a means for growth to pay for growth. New monthly rates were also adopted. the current monthly rate for residential unit is $10.86 beginning on January 1st, 2022, and the rate will increase 8% per year as shown above. So we're showing $11.72 would be a typical residential stormwater rate in the first year, and it'll progressively increase 8% to $15.95 in year 2026, and then it goes back to the 3% rate increases. And let's see, other things to talk about, the Cove, blue water. That should say that's water quality. So blue-green algae is something we've just posted some warning signages. So keep an eye out for that. The Cove has limited circulation in it, so it tends to see more algae growth, and sometimes that turns to blue-green algae. And we do have a couple capital projects in the stormwater program. The Scattering Canyon, that's been a little bit delayed by some permit and regulatory approvals. And then we're starting our Newell Canyon outfall assessments. So those are a couple of projects that, again, are pretty deep in the canyons that people might not necessarily even notice. I was trying to see if I missed something in there. Did I cover water already? I missed some things on water. So the city commission's talking, so they adopted a new water STC. So that's effective July 1, 2021. So any new development, we've covered the piece that helps cover growth, paying for growth. But the water rate increase needed to deliver our capital program is a hot topic. So Wednesday night, we will be in front of the city commission again to talk about what water ballot measure should stay. And a lot more information is coming. I don't have enough time to go into it, but I will just say your water system is important, and it has upgrade needs to help with water storage for fire suppression, for summer demand. We've got more needs for our current system than we can afford to pay for. So we will have what I think will be a convincing message with regard to that. But in the meantime, these hot times, our system is stressed, and we're asking folks to conserve water during these hotter days. And then some other capital projects that are coming down the line are listed there.
John, could you sum it up,
yes,
please?
Yeah. Geologic hazard code, that there was a lot of time spent on that by the city commission. So look for, if you're interested in geologic hazards and how they're regulated, there has been some change that would affect several properties in Oregon City. If you haven't noticed, the OC shuttle, that's what they look like. They're running around town now. I would say the schedule's posted online. This is a collaboration between Clackamas County and Oregon City. Again, if their success is based on ridership. So for years, I've heard from folks wanting more transit options besides TriMet. So this feels like delivery of that and stepping into that. They're a fixed route, but they divert as well. So if you call them and say, hey, I'm not on the route, but I need pickup, they can do that within a certain distance. So look for that. And then I'm looking forward. We're maintaining on schedule and on budget with the facility on First Street. So the Oregon City Engineering and Operations Center. Lots going on there right now. I mean, there's so many different trades on that project site during the weekday. It's pretty crazy, but so looking forward. We haven't really done much for tours. I know Amy got a tour. Vance gave Amy a tour. I'm interested in sharing it with the community because it is going to be a nice facility. So other than that, I'll take any questions.
I have a question, but I don't
Or
want
I
to take
can
too much
end
time.
Okay, Carla has a question.
Are you concerned about the infrastructure currently? Because you're looking at Lynn Street, you're looking at obviously Malala on Holmes, and then also Mountain View, since it's kind of dangerous in those two spots. And then I have one other question when you're done.
Am I concerned about infrastructure where?
Holmes and Mountain View, just if they're, potentially Mountain View might be opened up, and currently it's, not necessarily safe for pedestrians. It gets a lot of traffic, there's a lot of speeding. Is there any concern on that currently about those areas?
Oh, I think I know where you're going. So the neither one of those streets has sidewalks. Is that kind of what you're alluding to?
Not just that, but there's a lot of speeding. I mean, people will go over, and it's going to be a more concentrated area now that Gardner is done, and it's going to be bigger.
Well, I don't think Gardner is going to change traffic from, other than the fact that it has been COVID closed. So I don't know that Gardner will change things. There's a development that's proposed down at the end of Mountain
View.
Oh, one of those streets. And it'll come out on Holmes. I know that's a development application that has been under review. I don't know what the reality of it really coming.
Currently there's just a lot of speeding. So I'm looking at, obviously that's up in the air, but I'm looking currently on Holmes. Is there any plans currently, just if there's any improvements on Holmes, since it is somewhat dangerous and people speed, if we're looking at right now?
No.
Okay.
Nothing, no. We don't have any capital plans for Holmes right now.
Okay.
Or Mountain View. So I don't know. Have you talked to the police about speeding?
I need to. So.
We did. We actually addressed it at our last
we did.
meeting, and they said they have a lot of issues there.
So, yeah, just kind of curious, but thank you for answering my question.
Okay, Karen Morey has her hand up.
Yeah, so John, at some point, I was told there might be a pedestrian activated signal hiding somewhere for Lynn Ethel and A.D. Davis. Am I assuming now that that has been moved to Williams, or is there still a possibility for a pedestrian activated signal at the other intersection?
I want to say, and this is testing my memory, Karen, but I want to say that I can look into this, but I think that in the transportation system plan, there is a proposal for a pedestrian activated flashing beacon at A.V. Davis. But let me look into that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John, for that presentation. Our next presenter is Lucinda Broussard. She's the Toll Program Director for ODOT, and she'll give us an update on the plans for tolling the I-205 near Oregon City. And I want to express my appreciation to Lucinda for accommodating us on very short notice. She gave a presentation to TAC last week, and I thought it was a very worthwhile subject to bring to the CIC this week, and she jumped right on it. So thank you, Lucinda.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite. Again, Lucinda Broussard, I'm Toll Program Director for Oregon Department of Transportation in the Urban Mobility Office. I'm going to go through my presentation. I've taken out some slides regarding data. I'm keeping this to an overview this time. We can always come back next time and provide data. So I'll get started. So today I just want to talk about what's going on I-205. John did a great job on the construction piece. I'm talking about the tolling piece. We can bring back folks to talk about construction also. What are the problems out there on I-205 that we're trying to address with tolling? What do you see out there now that we're trying to address? And then how can all of us make it a successful and equitable process to put in a tolling program? Back in 2017, there was House Bill 2017, and it was Keep Oregon Moving. Included in that was to look at I-205 and I-5 as bottlenecks in the state and how we could open those up. The governor had done a round the state tour And everybody had identified I-5 and I-205 as two places that needed some additional look. It also opened up the toll program and gave the Oregon Transportation Commission the ability to be a toll authority and to set toll rates. And we launched the Urban Mobility Office right after that, it's a value pricing feasibility analysis that happened after the bill was signed, just to look at what points could we toll. So I-205, OR 213 to Stafford Road was identified, and then I-5 from north going to Multnomah Boulevard, or going the other way, actually, Multnomah to north going Boulevard, north going street. Last year, during this time, actually last year, we did a 70-day outreach. We asked folks about our purpose and need statement, which is why are we doing this project? What's its purpose? What's its need? And that's all towards the National Environmental Policy Act. So we call it NEPA. I call it environmental assessment, so people understand kind of what we're talking about. What we heard was, why are you just tolling I-205 at that area? How come you're not looking at the whole system? So we have opened that up, and we're doing something called a regional mobility pricing project that includes I-5 from near Interstate Bridge all the way down to Boone Bridge, and I-205 from Stafford Road all the way to the I-5. Why? It's always the same question. Why do we need to toll versus doing something else? Right now, gas tax has not been raised in almost 2 decades. It doesn't really cover all cost. We are basically a maintenance operation, and we are not doing any new innovation. So there's no new bridges. A lot are not seismically retrofitted. A lot are not, it's actually, the system needs to be maintained, but we also need to build new things. We have a $324 million shortfall. You don't make up money from gas tax. Tolling was another way to make up that gap. And then how long do you stay in traffic? I mean, congestion is here now. I heard Paul's presentation, and literally you have congestion right now. If you walked outside right now, if this was pre-COVID, you would see congestion everywhere. The whole ideal is to build infrastructure, add pricing, and open up areas. How will tolling work? All electronic, no stopping. In the old days, you'd stop, throw in your money, or somebody would take your money, and still in places like West Virginia, they still have the greatest toll takers ever. I was just there earlier this summer, and they take your money. But every place else in the country, they stopped doing that after COVID because it was so dangerous to carry cash. So we're going all electronic because it makes more sense. It's actually more economical. System runs smoother. What's the benefits of tolling? You think of the burden of tolling is paying, but what's the benefit you get out of paying? Improved travel times, reducing greenhouse gases, people are moving, a sustainable funding for investments. What are investments? How we do the improvements on I-205, the bridge we build on I-205, I-5 and all the corridor, Rose Quarter, Boone Bridge, all those things happen because tolls happen. And then what are we investing in? That strategies and investments to advance equity and mobility, I would say that is kind of the pinnacle of what we should be doing on all projects. And you'll notice that ODOT is moving towards more of an equity lens. We are actually at the forefront of that. And I will tell you that equity is most important in what we do. How much will it cost? Can't tell you that today because I don't know. We will know as we get closer. Right now we're saying we are going to be doing variable price. So when there's more traffic, it'll cost you more. When there's less traffic, it costs you less. What's it going to pay for? We have some core projects, as I mentioned, Rose Quarter, Boone Bridge, I-205 improvements project, and IBR's a separate project. But we do have those core projects to pay for. What we're looking at investing in transit and multimodal. We do have a transit multimodal regional group. We invite all transit operators, come sit to the table, tell us, we've heard Clackamas County is the transit desert, and we are working with partners in that area to try to figure that out. Neighborhood health and safety, that includes the diversion that we were talking about. neighborhood health and safety, how do we make that better? We're not trying to make it worse. We understand there's a problem now. We are trying to address the problem now and not make it worse. And then people experiencing low income. This is interesting because we do have an equity and mobility advisory committee. One of the things they're of course charged with is looking at low income. It also was House Bill 3055, which John mentioned about funding, but it also had a piece in there about low income and to do it based on toll rates, based on pricing, based on income. Here's what it looks like. I think John put up something that was more of the construction for the I-205, and this is more of the development of the toll program. As you can see, the earliest we could begin tolling is probably end of 2024. But we are taking steps. We have an environmental review that we have now for I-205, which has been going on for the past 2 years. Regional planning, which is all of the rest of the system, which we're starting on. We're gonna be doing we're doing simple surveys online. You'll also see some discussion groups happening. We're doing a lot with our equity and mobility committee, and we're out talking to people about what we're doing. As I mentioned, we do have an equity and mobility advisory committee, and they actually report directly to the Oregon Transportation Commission. So our committee is made up of 15 members. This shows a lot of people, but this includes our transit multimodal group. They actually got together and did a meeting together. One of the great things about the Equity and Mobility Advisory Committee is these are people who live or have work experience in equity. So they are talking about what's needed. All of their recommendations will go to the community, and then they'll go to the Transportation Commission. No ODOT influence, just the committee. As an equity framework, we actually are moving this around for others to use. A great way to test and try your equity and see if you have an equity lens to what you're doing. Regional Mobility Project, the teal line is the line that I'm talking about. The purple is the I-205 Improvements Project, but the teal or the light blue, I don't know, some blue line. That is the Regional Mobility Pricing Project, and that includes all of the 5 in the metro area and all of I-205 for congestion pricing. And it's the same, we have the same, like it's kind of core values. We're gonna talk about equity. You're gonna see some action on equity. We have climate, congestion, safety, and reliable funding, same as the others. I-205 project, as I mentioned, OR 213 to Stafford Road. Next year, you'll see Abernathy Bridge start. And then after that, you'll see the rest of the improvements as we get tolling set up, because that's the only way to pay for that is through tolling. And we have the same 5 core. Equity. As you can see, we put equity at the forefront because it's the thing that's always missing from these projects. Our purpose is to manage congestion and generate revenue, and somewhere in there, there's a great toll rate that does both, and we call it the sweet spot, and that's what we'll be looking for. And as they do this, as I called it, that environmental assessment, these are some of the things that they're looking at and that they'll be working towards. Key decisions, what needs to happen now? We are looking for mitigation strategies. We realize we can't just put in a toll road. What might happen if we do that? So we're looking at intersections that are clogged. We've asked cities and counties to come and tell us what intersections we should look at so we can determine what's there and what we may need to do. And that's our mitigation strategies. Also, multimodal, as I said, we've been told many times that Clackamas County is a transit desert. So, and to me, transit is very limited, and we should be talking multimodal. What else can we bring? I love the shuttle, that's here now, but you know, ride share, there are many other things that can happen besides just a bus. So what is that? We're looking at that, and of course, safety, access, and equity. So this question's always asked, are you represented in what we're doing? We have a regional modeling group. We've opened that up to anyone who wants to listen to what we say, present our information, give it to you. We do actually give our data to everyone, so you can test it and try it like we did, and come back and talk about what it is. Transit Multimodal Group, as I said, that's regional. Any transit operators or anyone interested can join. Equity and Mobility Advisory Committee, that's a set committee, but anybody can listen. And their recommendations or their thoughts and their ideas about how they do this work goes to the communities, because that's who they're doing it for. Regional partner agency staff, literally, if the mayor has someone they want to send, we take everybody, we give them all the information. All of this is really about collaboration. The project doesn't work without all of us working together, and it doesn't work if you don't know the information. So I always say, if you're at the table, you know, we're serving the food at the table, please come. How to stay involved? Just like we're doing tonight. Invite us in, ask us what you know, tell us to bring something to you if you just want to hear about something specific. But we're here to provide the information to you, show you how we're doing it, and get the project going. And if you need more information, myself, Lucinda Broussard, or Garrett Pryor, who's my policy manager, can help and answer any questions. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Linda, and now we'll open it up for what I'm sure will be many, many questions. We'll start with Carla.
So my concern, the only thing is, you know, you look at logically tolling, and the tolling, you know, costs more. So it takes, you know, people who have less money to be able to afford to pay the toll. And you talk about equity in this board. I know we don't have a lot of time to spend on this at this point, but everywhere people are talking about equity. I want to know what equity means. I want to see a link. So right now, obviously, we won't have time to address it because I know we're limited for time, but if you could share that with us, that'd be awesome.
Not a problem. I will share that with you.
Thank you so much.
Edie?
Welcome to Oregon City, and I hope I get to know you.
Thank you.
But now I'll talk as not your friend. 20 years ago, my father said, Dee Dee, invest in tolling. City parking and tolling. I said, why? And he goes, believe me, honey, everything's gonna get, it's all, I understand the concept of tolling. There's no end on this. It will be forever tolling. So we don't have any kind of cap on this. We finished the Abernathy Bridge. We've paid for it. We've paid for the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. We've paid for the Bay Bridge. I'm saying is that there's no end to this tolling. Paul is so correct. I know every back road in this town, so I don't go on a highway, and that's exactly what I'll do. I go to Westland and Oregon City no less than 2 times a day, no less than. And if I have to run some errands in between going back and forth to a carpool or tool, I do those back roads. What scares me is that once we start getting complete gridlock downtown Oregon City, they will force us. They're trying to force us to turn the Arch Bridge into a pedestrian bridge anyway, but we're fighting that because that is our only link as an Oregon City person. I'm questioning that because I have a fast track. I've had a fast track for 15 years because I travel up and down the West Coast and go east. And I know what those toll tickets cost. I've been sent them in the mail when I haven't filled my fast track up. So my question is that Oregon City residents will be overly burdened. We won't even go to our neighbors and go visit. I know the back way to Tualatin, just because it's the easiest and fastest way to get to Tualatin Hospital and the rest home that's over there, or care facility, that's already backed up. Because, and they're gonna put a sports arena over there. Hence why you want to toll over by Stafford Road, because there's a big sports arena going in there, and they're fighting that, but it will go through. I'm just saying is that when the stock exchange, when you have tolling by private companies for parking and stock exchange, that's what's driving it. And if we get, and cross our fingers, we get the infrastructure bill passed, If we get some of those trillions of dollars our way, and it goes towards the 205 bridge, would you consider reducing the tolling or taking the tolling off in case we get a big windfall and they pay for it? These are things that are really concerning to me. We'll become a gridlock town. We are already the dump. We're already a jail town. We are so many things going against us that we are dubbed. That we will divert people, even our own people, from crossing our bridge and traveling around. Thank you. Can't wait to meet you.
I spoke a little bit last month, but my biggest concern listening now is some of those meetings I was involved in the equity and mobility meetings. And one of the questions I raised at one time early on, it says, they're talking about these tolls, not just going to pay for the roads, for all these other programs, social programs, equality programs, helping people with disabilities, stuff like that. And they're not using the tolls just to pay for what we're doing. That time they're talking about our bridge here and the one in downtown Portland, not the whole run. And the problem being is these tolls are do social programs and help people, which is not a problem. Why should a small group of Oregonians be taxed to pay for these programs? If everyone in Oregon is available to take proceeds because they deserve them, it's not a problem, then everyone in Oregon should be paying the taxes to pay for these programs, and not just a small group of people because of where we live have to pay taxes. You call them tolls, it's still a tax to do programs other than paying for the freeway, and that's my biggest concern.
Let's see. Denise, did you have your hand up earlier?
I did, but Dee already asked my question. I'll reiterate it. I was wondering about the infrastructure bill funds as well. If that is passed, if that would help mitigate the price for what's proposed.
So let me just once again say, the Oregon Transportation Commission makes the decision about the toll rate, and how they take that into consideration, I don't know.
Steve, you have your hand
We'll
up?
ask.
I do. I was wondering how the tolling infrastructure picks up who's getting the toll. Is there something that we're going to put on a car? Is there something that it looks at a license plate? What are we dealing with?
Both. So there is a transponder or actually like Fast Track or like others, there's a transponder or a pass that you can put in your vehicle attached to an account, or we can capture your license plate.
And for those states that don't require front plates,
We'll take pictures of,
other people
go ahead.
who've been complaining about this. I don't want this to be just the people who live in the area. It's, one of my pet peeves is I don't like that people that come visit here don't pay taxes. So I want them to pay the toll.
And we have a moratorium.
So we will capture the front and back. So if you did not have a front plate, we'll capture the back plate also.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to look this way. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. From the get-go, this project has talked about people coming from Washington into Oregon and using 205 to get to I-5, go to Wilsonville. But we have a lot of people, if you know, Oregon City is home to the county seat. So we have a lot of people coming from north of here that get off in Oregon City. And so those people aren't gonna have to pay the toll if you only toll from the Abernathy Bridge. The Abernathy Bridge is only gonna capture those of us that have to get on it because that's the only way to go, or we go the back roads. And so, again, like John says, this spend it where you collect it, I think really needs to be looked at. And I get the emails, I've put my input, the surveys that come out are self-directed. I don't like that. When you ask a question and you say choose A, B, or C, and none of those apply to Oregon City, and Oregon City is the city that's gonna be the most affected, I think that that's just wrong. I think when you have surveys, you can't drive the questions. The answers, you gotta just ask the question. And so I don't think you're getting good information personally when I participate in the different meetings. Again, we're going to be paying a price. And then how is it equitable? How in the world is it equitable? And just how much money does it cost to mail an 11-cent or $2 fee to somebody that's visiting from Idaho one day?
If you miss it, it's a $25 fee.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, I don't see how that's going to help. The only people it's going to help are the people that do not live in Oregon City.
So I probably need to clarify, we're not just tolling the Abernathy Bridge, we're tolling OR 213 to Stafford Road in the beginning and then all of it after. So can you put back up the slide presentation real quick?
Hold on a
I'm
second,
sorry.
let me go find it.
Hold on. I'll just go back to it.
Yeah, so you're going to have people get off at Gladstone, come across the Green Bridge on McLaughlin so that they can be into Oregon City. They're not going to they'll just jump off at the Gladstone exit.
Well,
and then they're going to go out through Canby and to go to Wilsonville.
Let me show you the regional, because the regional covers all the way down to Boone Bridge. So you're talking all of I-5 and all of I-205. Thank you.
I need to do this
Oh,
share just
okay.
1 second.
I know. I could go all
Almost
day.
finished.
Share both sides.
Shots, I got mints, everything.
Let me see if I can find that map. Is it this
That
one?
one's fine.
Okay.
That first one is fine. Thank you. So the first
That would be equity.
to be told is the OR 213 to Stafford Road, which is that purplish.
Right, so where the
Dark
people are
line.
going to get off at Gladstone and they're going to go through Canby and pop on at Aurora.
The second part, which would be about a year and a half later, is all of the I-5 and all of the 205, which would disperse some of the diversion we're talking about and move people throughout the metropolitan area.
But we don't have a choice. I mean, Oregon City is so limited. We don't have as many choices as you have in Portland or like Oswego to go different ways.
Let me say that I've done tolls in many different states for over the last 20 plus years.
We're not other states, we're Oregon.
I understand that. I'm an Oregonian now. So I get
I
that.
don't want to be other states.
And that is true too. But what we found is that some people do now realize people are coming through on I-205 and they're coming through on I-5. They don't all get off and divert because there's a toll, right? Because if it takes me 20, 30 more minutes because I diverted, it's my time is money. It's really choice. And we can't sit and understand what my choice would be. I can tell you from analysis what might happen, but what people choose to do might be totally different.
Well, I have to make a statement there, because that's not entirely true. In my experience, when I was working in Tualatin and I'd come home in the afternoon rush hour, often I-205 would be backed up terribly. So I would take off at Stafford Road and take the back way around Old West Lynn District and try to cross over on the West Lynn, Oregon City Arch Bridge. And every single time I found that was always way, way backed up also. And I didn't have a choice of which way I went. And most of the time it ended up being, I would have been just as good to stay on 205 as I tried to make the bypass. So it doesn't matter what you do, you're still gonna have backups. That's just the way it's gonna be, and I don't care what their studies say.
And you're still taxing just a percentage of the people to pay for the social programs for everything and not everybody paying a tax. And that's still, even in this argument here, those group of people are paying taxes to cover those states.
So
Adam, you had a question, Adam?
Thank you, Chair LaSalle. First, I take issue with, you said in West Virginia they have the best toll takers. I don't think there's such a thing as the best toll takers.
They're nice people.
Yeah.
They really are.
And my question gets back to the equity issue that was talked about before. Not only what is it, what does it look like? Can we talk more about what it specifically looks like? But I mean, I know we're going back and forth with mandates and shutdowns, but as we begin to leave this era, a lot of economic models are talking about how, or even anecdotally, how people that are, more white collar workers are going to keep working from home. They're going to keep utilizing their home office because it works a lot better for them. Whereas you're going to have a lot more blue collar, low income people that are still going to have to drive to their places of employment. And so I'm curious what work you guys have done to take that into account, because I am concerned about this equity issue, and moving out of the COVID economy, it's going to be entirely different from what we've all been used to as far as tolling goes.
Let me send you the links for our Equity and Mobility Advisory Committee and the work that they're doing, and you can see what we're advancing there.
Thank you.
Any other? Yes, Linda?
Yeah. Bob,
Go, Dennis.
Dennis.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, Dennis.
The thing that I want to echo with what was brought up by Amy and Bob is that, we see these schematics and they're nicely grafted out, and the issue keeps coming back to Oregon City proper. And if there's going to be, and everyone knows there will be diversion of traffic to avoid the toll, what we don't see up here is any kind of consideration on the consequences of putting something like this in play and what roadways are going to take the load. And I think it would be helpful, certainly for the people of Oregon City, to understand what kind of infrastructure is going to be applied to these new streets that are going to take a burden of the overflow or the people avoiding the tolls. And I don't see that on any of the graph. I don't know if you can address it, but I'm sure in conference and with the equity group, it's been at least talked about. And I think it would be advantageous to actually see some of the impact that's going to happen on the little streets that adjoin this section of the toll, and how that might play on the Oregon City mindset. Thank you.
Sure. As I said in the beginning, I took out the data, as I had talked to Bob about taking out the data analysis, but I can bring that group here to talk about the different intersections and what they see there and the analysis that's being done. So that's doable.
That would be good.
Not a problem.
The people could also take advantage of last week's TAC meeting, because on the agenda content, your complete report is in that. And it's how many pages? 39 or 40, I think, maybe more.
It's about 40.
Yeah, it gives a complete, very detailed description of their efforts in this.
I'm happy to send an email with that link to the group.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, it's detailed information is available out there. Linda?
Hello, welcome. I think I have the same fears, concerns as others about our side streets. In the Kenema area, we have Highway 99 that runs through it. It's very difficult now to get across Highway 99. Old lady, small dog, take my life. It's hard to get across the street. I've been hit on Highway 99, cars completely totaled. There's one crosswalk, you have to walk up to the Still House to get across. But still, you have to cross and hope everyone's going to stop. I'm always giving, stop, stop, stop. We're crossing, even though you have the light. That's just going to be atrocious when you get this going. Talking with John Lewis, that's ODOT, that's not Oregon City Streets, that's the ODOT streets. Those side streets are awful. We've had all the ice storms, everything that get through. They have little pathways. You can barely walk through some of those pathways from ODOT because they have those big nails, those huge trip hazards all the way through. Anyway, it's just atrocious to do this. And Oregon City, we're not just Oregon City, we're a whole little community. We go to the markets in Oregon City and Westland, Gladstone, we're all up over and down 205. The big joke has always been, come on, you're crossing the bridge, at least get up to 55 miles an hour. I don't know. I just think this is gonna be a scary, scary thing to do. Don't think, might not be the right thing. I agree with Amy. Some of the tollings were totally bridged you into the answers you're going to have. That's it.
Dee Dee,
I just
quickly,
have one
please.
last comment. When you're looking at the equity, you should look at the equity of the whole entire Oregon City and Westland that will be affected in Lake Oswego, because we utilize each city like Portland does. You have northeast, southeast, west, south, you have the four corners of Portland. We have our three corners of our little Tri-City. And this will really hamper our business back and forth, pharmacies or doctors and dentists and your best friends, your mothers, and all this other stuff. It's all there. You might consider as an equity to Oregon City and those other surround cities a moratorium on this particular toll. If we have to pay it on 5, that's us. But maybe we shouldn't have to pay it in our own backyard. Just saying. If we're looking at equity, our city should be considered as an equity and part of that package. Thank you.
And the information that I just referred to in their report, they refer to this area as a typically unrepresented area. So, they have stated themselves that we are an unrepresented area. Now, I have a few questions. Do you know exactly where the toll devices will be located?
Not yet. We do not have that down yet.
Will the toll ever go away?
That's up to the Oregon Transportation Commission.
That's no.
Okay, because I remember that in my youth, the interstate bridge, I-5 interstate bridge, was a toll bridge for many, many years. Once they got the bridge completed and built and paid for, the toll went away. We'd like to see that. There's reference to it being also tolling Interstate 5. And I asked the same question, I think, the other night. Where is it being considered on I-5?
So if we can go back to the map that's up right now, from Boone Bridge all the way up near the Interstate Bridge.
So it's not as specific on I-5 as it is on 205 yet?
It's gonna toll all the way up.
But I mean, the exact toll locations are not selected.
Oh, no, the toll locations are not, we don't have where the toll gantries are going to be. We do have where the toll geography is going to be. So on I-5, it's from Boone Bridge all the way up to near Interstate Bridge. And on I-205 right now, the I-205 project is OR 213 to Stafford Road.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is on the I-205, it's just a few miles. The I-5, it's still wide open.
I-5 will be all tolled.
Okay, that's a non-answer. Why wasn't it considered, the north end of I-205 considered for tolling rather than this specific area?
So when it was a value pricing feasibility analysis that happened after House Bill 2017, so it went on for about a year and a half. I was asked this question at the last meeting, who represented this area, and it was Commissioner Paul Savas, who represented Clackamas County. What they came up with was OR 213 to Stafford Road and I-5 from Multnomah to North Going Street. That is what came out of the value pricing feasibility analysis. We have expanded that to include the rest of I-205, from Stafford Road all the way to the 5 and from OR 213 all the way to Glen Jackson Bridge, and then I-5 from Boone Bridge to near the Interstate Bridge after we did our last year's community engagement. So we will be tolling all of the teal color or the light blue color.
As more tolling gets in, does the price go down?
As I said, that's Oregon Transportation Commission sets toll rates.
I see.
Well, I must express the feeling that I've heard from a majority of people that I've talked to about this, that this is a somewhat unfair tolling location in regard to the effect it's going to have in Oregon City and all its little side streets and whatnot. Of the entire length of I-205, you couldn't have picked, or they, not you personally, they couldn't have picked a worse location in regard to the effect of the surrounding neighborhoods. Anything further north, they would have had bypass routes. Anything south of the West Lynn Bridge, they would have had fewer bypass routes available to them. I'm expressing the opinions of many, many people. John, unless you have your hand up. Are you muted, John?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Sorry. Lucinda, I'm just curious, a couple of tolls that I'm pretty familiar with just because of where I enjoy some personal time is Cascade Locks there were the Bridge of the Gods and Stevenson, and then Hood River and kind of White Salmon area. Just curious, do you know, are those jurisdictions, are the residents of those jurisdictions given a kind of a pass or a free ride or a reduced rate to cross? Do you know if that, maybe it's not there. Is there other locations where that you're aware of that kind of a program, or that's a way to mitigate the impact on the local users?
John, I lived in Bingen across from Hood River for 5 years, and I worked in Hood River. I was not given any kind of pass as a resident.
Okay. Lucinda, do you know, maybe not, that sounds like that one's not. Is there others across your area of influence or understanding that have that kind of a program?
There was one, it was in New York, and was it the Staten Island Bridge? It was one of their bridges where they gave a discount to residents, and I don't know that they continued that program.
I bet they could if they tried.
Sarah, you had a question or comment?
I do. It was brought up about private corporations or whatever benefiting from this whole situation of tolling. Where can we find more transparency and information about that? Forgive my naivete, but this is new information to me, and I want to know more about where that money goes and to whom it goes to.
There is no private, no.
Sorry.
There's no designation of any private entities getting money from the tolls.
Okay, Karen, you had a question or comment?
Oops. Okay, I'm just a little chuffled. When I do drive, I don't drive I-205 or I-5. I know every flippin' back way anywhere in this whole area. And the advantage to them is people are lazy. People that are traveling through are not going to go over the Oregon City West Lynn Bridge. They're going to pay it. They're going to stay on the main road. And locally, there are options. I would be curious if everybody track your mileage for a month. How often do you use those segments, and where are you going and why? I'm not a fan of the tolling, not promoting it in any way, shape, or form, but I don't have this fear of people figuring out there's other ways to go. Locals have patience, travelers don't. That's all.
Any other questions or comments from anybody? Okay, I must say, Lucinda, that I've expressed my opinion at the last attack meeting. I've expressed my opinion this evening. And I want to tell you that they're not directed at you. They're directed at the system. And I truly don't believe that the people of Oregon City are being listened to. Thank you very much for your presentation and your patience and understanding of the frustrations of the people involved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here. The next presentation was supposed to be from Jerry Herrmann, but apparently he had some kind of an accident. He can't be here tonight. It's in regard to mitigation funds that are available to help fund such things as the Cove, which needs dredging to get the water flowing in and out of it to prevent that blue-green algae, which is a very serious human and animal dangerous situation. There's another area down near between I-205 and Home Depot, which is a natural area down in there that could benefit from some funding. And from my understanding, this mitigation funding has been available since about 2015. The city has known about it and hasn't done anything to pursue it actively. And he was going to ask us for a letter of support this evening, which I had drafted. And I just very recently got it to Christina. You weren't able to get that.
No, I didn't get that. Is it today?
Yeah. I'll have to check my email to make sure it went through.
You check, because I'm looking through and I don't have it.
Well, I have a terrible time with
Okay.
doing attachments and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that we'll have to, I don't like to put it off, but I think without further information from Jerry from specifics. Dee Dee,
I've listened to Jerry's mitigation talk several times because I watch every single meeting, and he's given it to the City Commission, PRAC, and we need to support this. Actually, the City Commission last November directed our city staff to check in and get in line, because that's all we need to do is at least get in line. Jerry, we have to have him back to talk to us. Even if we sign this letter, support it, and send it off to our commission as that we want this done, we need to come back and listen to Jerry's talk again. He really knows what he's talking about. He is completely invested in this, and he's not making any money off it, just put that clear. And he's quite an ecologist, and we have to listen to him carefully because he knows our area like the back of his hand. He's born and raised here, and he is truly an educated ecologist in these areas, and he knows the people that can help us with our mitigation, and our city staff has ignored it, and they have been actually directed to get in line. So,
well, I'll read this letter, if you'll allow me. The Dear Mayor and Commissioners, the Citizens Involvement Committee is tasked with considering land use issues in the city of Oregon City and advise the City Commission on such issues. We take our responsibility seriously and wish to give comment on the following. We've been told of mitigation funds available that could help fund projects in areas such as the Clackamas Cove, riverfront assets, and other areas where funds exist to assist habitat enhancement while providing recreational opportunities for our citizens. Such funds have been successfully obtained by Gladstone, Milwaukee, and other areas along Portland's waterfront. The city of Oregon City has had an opportunity to participate in this, quote, mitigation funding, unquote, since about 2015 has not done so. Other communities are accessing those funds and they're becoming depleted, while Oregon City's opportunities are not being taken advantage of. With ongoing concerns about water quality in Clackamas Cove, which pose a health hazard to humans and animals, and pending development near Washington Street and Home Depot, it seems these funds could be of great value. Mitigation funding is a cost-effective manner to help finance improvements in those areas of concern and make them safer and healthier for both humans and wildlife. We ask that staff and commission work to access these important financing opportunities while they're still available. This letter has been approved by the members of the CIC on this date. Most sincerely, me. I don't expect any action on this letter unless you can actually see it yourselves, but that's the gist of where we're trying to go. Any questions?
I think it's great that you've read that, and that if we can get Jerry here to explain exactly what that asks for, then I think it would move fast.
Yeah, because he was going to give us some examples of the fundings that have been taken advantage of by Gladstone and whoever else. So it's millions and millions of dollars. It's
Millions.
other cities are taking, and it's going away.
Yeah,
We need to
it's
get in there.
dwindling
and get it.
away.
Hang on. Right. Bob,
Yes.
I have Jerry on the phone. I
Okay.
had to put him on speaker so he can do his presentation.
Oh,
That's great.
okay, great. Jerry, we're wide open to hear you.
Hello, Bob. Hello, group.
Good, we're anxious to hear your presentation.
Hello, Bob. Hello, group. This
Okay.
is Jerry Herrmann.
They can hear you.
Okay. I may not be able to hear you, but look, next time you go walking on the bluff, watch out for a big guy in a pit bull. Because I was not watching what I was doing and ran right into me, knocked me almost over the railing. And you know it's a 150-foot drop down in the railroad direction. I don't want to go there yet. I'm not ready. Let me tell you a bit about what I was going to share with you tonight. The city has taken real strong interest, the commission, in trying to see if there's other resources that could flow into projects like Clackamas Cove, Clackamas Park, areas maybe around Sportcraft Landing, basically areas where wildlife and people could exist but can't very well now because of circumstances. Many years ago, Governor Kitzhaber decided, our governor, prior to Governor Brown, to put the industries in Portland on notice that they had to contribute to a fund to clean up Portland Harbor, because a lot of the industry activities include good things. Support of Portland, Portland Development Commission, groups that were actually doing good things were also creating problems, which were modern problems that then go back to World War II. Waste were discharged in those areas, both on the land and in the water, that led to problems. And so Governor Kitzhaber was trying to keep the area from becoming a Superfund site, because he felt once that happened, gay and so forth would dawdle because of the complexity of what they have to do and not get the job done with a cleanup. So he had those industries. We're talking about ARCO, we're talking about mobile, we're talking about Port of Portland facilities, again, Portland Development Commission. Many companies from the Broadway Bridge clear down contributed into a large fund called the Portland Harbor Superfund Fund. And then they began to clean up their properties. He wanted them to spend money on getting cleanup done instead of litigation, fighting the federal government about what they should be doing. That's again, Governor Kitzhaber. Those funds now are available in the last 10 years to upper
Oh, Karen, we lost Jerry.
Tualatin River, well, that doesn't work. That's above the falls. The Clackamas for sure, Johnson Creek, Kellogg Creek, and so forth. And so communities have gone after those funds. Gladstone in particular has gotten a whole bunch of improvements to their riverfront, to their Melbourne Park area. And then now Milwaukee is getting Kellogg Creek rehabbed into a beautiful flowing stream and wetlands and so forth with economic development improvements going on around it. Westland wants to do things at Cedar Oaks and Marylhurst. And in 2015, this city learned about the mitigation funds, and we had a different mayor then. And I think he thought it was too good to be believed, but others did believe it, and so they've gotten to date close to $100 million worth of improvements done in the various places I've told you about. We need to be in that queue. And our administrator, Tony Conkle, I think basically has been told by the city commission to proceed rapidly and not lose the opportunity to participate in what's called the Lower Harbor Superfund Mitigation Fund, or whatever you want to call it. It's basically a wildlife and people enhancement effort. So what I was going to tell you tonight about, and again, I can talk better than I can see right now, but I have memorized this pretty well, is if your commission, your group, I was a founding member and a long-term member of the Natural Resources Committee, your group would be willing to take a letter draft that I gave to Bob today, your chairman, and finesse it the way you want with a strong recommendation that the city move forward with the still funds. There was $500 million available 2 years ago. Now there's less than 200, and it's going down as more and more people want access to that fund. Now, what is the obligation of the city? To form an effort within the city to receive the funds and let others do the professional work. The city does not have to hire new staff at all. Milwaukee and Gladstone and Westland have not had to hire anybody new to manage these projects because they're managed by professionals. The most important thing is the professionals do the legwork of getting the permitting, working with the agencies. We're talking about many agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and it goes on and on. 12 to 14 agencies sometimes get involved in these waterside projects, whether we like it or not. These professionals know how to do that. And they put together a task force, which does not cost the city anything. It comes out of the mitigation fund to then look at projects, Clackamas Cove, for instance, Clackamas Park, things along Washington Street next to the landfill are all eligible projects. Things on the Abernathy Creek are eligible projects. Put together the team to figure out what's realistic, see if the permitting agencies are going to support it, because they have goals too. Finesse their permitting agencies to respond, and then the project starts getting built. They manage the contracts, whatever it happens to be, planting, trails, whatever it involves. And then this is the one I love. The Mitigation Trust Fund in Portland puts the money into every project for long-term maintenance. The city does not have to do that. It's covered by the Mitigation Trust Fund. And there's also, in many cases, a host fee. Gladstone has received several $100,000 a year for hosting projects in their city, for having the land. A private developer, such as a landfill, or somebody that owned, say, an area next to Sportcraft Landing, if it was privately owned, it's not, but if it was, they're eligible too. It have to be public agencies, it can be private people that want to benefit people and the environment. So my request to you folks is would you consider sending forth a message that let's get on with it, let's get it going, because it's too good to ignore. It'll help parks, it'll help projects like Clackamas Cove, Washington Street as examples, and other things, even around, especially around the falls, it would help some of those areas too. So that's my pitch today. And I've got a gauze thing over my eyes, so I can't see you. I cannot see you because of the gauze.
Because of the gauze? Okay, Bob, I had earbuds in, but I just took them out. I think Jerry should be able to hear you if somebody asks a question. Let's try that.
Okay, Jerry, can you hear me?
Karen, if you'll repeat the question, I can respond.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go with, Bob asked if you could hear him.
Switch your speaker source.
So, have a question other than, can you hear me?
I don't see any other questions at the table here or on the screen.
I have a question.
Okay, Denise, go ahead.
In April of this year, Jerry presented this to us, and Christina said that she had spoken with Pete Walter, senior planner, and that he would be checking on the funding effort and report back.
Yeah, hang on.
I haven't heard the report back.
Denise Beasley was asking, from McLaughlin, that Pete was gonna be checking back after the neighborhood association meeting. I can actually fix that one. Pete no longer works for the city. And I don't know where, planning is on this. That would be maybe Christina who could answer.
Well, one part of my point is, we've already heard this, and why hasn't anything happened?
Okay, Denise is asking why several groups have heard this and why has nothing happened. And hang on, I'm gonna put the phone.
We heard this at the CIC meeting in April.
Answer that, okay?
Mhm.
All right.
I've heard it 5 times.
Okay, the question I understood was, since several groups have heard this presentation, why has the city not acted? I can't quite figure that out myself because it's such a good deal. And I met with Mayor Gamba, Mark Gamba from Milwaukee. He's having our youth group. I run a program to train young people how to work and be responsible people and so forth. He's having us come down there to help him with Kellogg Lake. And he said this is the most incredible thing that's ever happened to our city because we can take on large projects, plan them well, and then have the agencies managed by professionals to give us the permits. Then they manage the project to get it done. I think there's still some unknown fear that this is too good to be true. While it's too good to be true in some people's minds, other cities are taking advantage of it, and that fund is going to run out at some point. And we should not be on the end of that stick or run out. So I don't know how to answer it, except to say that it's time to get with it and do it. I can tell you right now that the landfill project, if it moves forward, is going to be using their approach as a private development company to try to solve some of their problems, and they're eligible for that mitigation fund too. So, I guess my number one feeling is a letter from you guys will make a difference. That's what I think.
Okay, we have a question from Amy.
No, I don't have a question. I just like to move that we send this letter that.
I'm having trouble hearing, but I see that Amy has her card up.
Okay, Karen, Amy is talking right now.
Hang on.
I said I don't have a question. I'd just like to move that we send the letter that Bob read in support, asking the city commission to.
So Jerry, Amy's moving that we send the letter that Bob has.
I second.
I second that motion.
Yes, I'm just hearing now, thanks to Karen. From Amy, the question is, shall we send a letter that you have? I want you to have your say. I try to make it friendly, but firm. and roughly it's firm by saying it's time to get off the stick and get it done because we're going to lose out if we don't.
Okay,
if you
Jerry,
want to say something differently, you go ahead and say it.
Yeah, let me hang in here. All right, so Bob?
Karen, yes, I think we need to have you and Jerry off of this link, whatever you got going here, so we can get back in sync here.
Yeah, I just want to note that he was saying that he wrote the draft letter as firm, and you're free to make any suggestions for what feels more like you if necessary. Otherwise, we have a motion on the floor.
I freely edited his version that he sent to me. So we have a motion on the floor by Amy, seconded by Carla, to approve this letter to be sent to the city commission. Any further discussion? Okay, Dennis, would you have a vote for it, please? Dennis, are you there?
Yes, he is. Barkley Hill, Carla,
Aye.
Dee Dee,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
I agree. John,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Denise,
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Bob?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We have, you forgot Hillendale, Sarah?
I did. Having a problem with Hunter. Hunter. Sorry. Aye. And Sarah?
Aye.
Great.
Okay,
Unanimous.
that letter has been approved.
There's Hunter too, right?
It's my piece of paper.
That letter has been approved unanimously. Actually, I could sign this now and pass it on to Adam Marl, who is our
And maybe,
city commission representative.
and maybe, Adam, you would ask the commission to investigate why it hasn't been done and who's the bottleneck here?
I suggest we not go there, let them handle it their way.
I was giving somebody that's not here, let's just get it started now and getting something out of here. Something fixed.
I can say that we did have a conversation about this a few weeks ago and that it is a continuing conversation, but I appreciate all of this discussion tonight.
This is action needs to be taken, not just discussions.
Yep.
Just time for something,
Getting in
some
line.
action to take place. Okay, let's see, where am I here? Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation and your votes. Let's see, next is our staff liaison update. Christina?
Oh, yeah, so I'm gonna do my best to share my screen, so 1 second. Share. Okay. So I have, I'll go over the items that are in the liaison. I have a couple of add-on items I'll add as well. Kelsey McNall, who has been your liaison for neighborhood association updates and the postcards, is leaving the city tomorrow. So in the interim, you can send me all postcard information, invoices. Actually, I'll learn about how to do Buells. That's one of my tasks this week, is to learn Kelsey's job. And then any updates to officers or meeting locations, send those all to me. I was unable to get the July 2020 postcard budget. I needed to work with finance and I was on vacation last week, so I apologize. But in the October meeting, we'll have the new, so you'll find out how much money you have for this next biennium. And the goal is myself, or if it's assigned to someone else, at each CEIC meeting, I'll have the updated postcard. I just wasn't able to get it with Kelsey's notice and my vacation, but that's the goal. At every meeting, you'll have the updated version. So you'll kind of know, I need to find out if there's any carry forward and what the rate is. I wasn't able to do that. As always, people are doing summer projects, accessory building, fences, decks, all the things you like to do when it's not raining in Oregon. We have some general how do I information on the city's planning and building pages. So if anybody in your neighborhood is interested or asks questions, the best step is to go to the how do I section, which is on the planning page at the bottom of the blue column, and it has kind of all those initial questions of accessory dwellings, fences, decks, and it kind of gives you that basic information. And then with that, you can call the planning department, the building department, and get a little more detailed if you have any questions. We are continuing to hear from people who are interested in active neighborhood associations. I even just got an email today with someone who wants to get more involved with their community. So even though we've had some great success with Hillendale and South End, which is trying to start, I do recommend continue to advocate for people to be involved with their neighborhood association and interested in serving on CIC if you have any open positions. Some neighborhoods only have one and some have both positions representative. Let's see what's next. Has everybody signed up for the Trail News monthly newsletter? Are you all getting that? Encourage your neighborhood association members, and you can also just even forward it when you get it from Kristen, who sends it Brown. Just forward it to everybody on your list. And the library has so many good information about all the projects, the programs they're having. And sometimes I find people go to the newsletter to learn about the library, but then they can also realize all the additional monthly activities that are happening. And is anybody after or before a developer has come talk to you, have you been able to request a copy of the pre-application notes in advance of any meeting? Has that been going okay? Have you been able to do the public records request?
I nodded my head, but
Okay.
if not, I haven't received the notes before the meeting, but I've been successful in getting the meeting notes after the meetings have taken place.
Yeah, I think the idea is when you should be able to review the city's notes for a neighborhood association. Sorry, I can't talk with this mouth. Neighborhood association meeting before any developer comes to your neighborhood to make their presentation. So you understand what they presented and what the city's initial comments were. And I think it's important to be able to have that when you meet. So please,
Well,
please.
what about if the developer has a neighborhood meeting before the pre-application meeting?
Well, they won't be able, you won't be able to get the notes, but you can always contact me, anybody in planning, we can hook you up and let you know if there's a neighborhood association, a pre-application conference notes. Because of the public records process, I need to kind of send you through, but I can always quickly say, yep, they had one, use this file number. And I often do that for people who are interested in the general public. I'll say, yes, pre-application has happened. It's PA 20-something. Go click on this public records request link, put that file number in, and we should be able to get it to you within the day or the next day.
Yeah, I've been very successful in getting those meeting minutes, and they're very, very interesting and valuable.
Yeah, and those notes, I mean, I do pre-applications quite a lot. You know, it's really the first pass based on what an applicant gives us of all the things we can think about that they would want to know, either the code or the policy or what they want to know. Sometimes they provide maybe one or two options, like an alternative A or B, and we provide comments on that. Sometimes we get really in-depth proposals with 23 questions from an applicant, and sometimes we get one page. So the answers we give back are really based on what I always tell an applicant. You turn in a little bit of information, you'll get a little bit of information back from us. If you turn in a lot, we'll be able to respond to a lot. So the quality of the staff response often is related to what they actually turned in. And sometimes we say, you didn't turn in enough, you'll have to come in again before you submit because you haven't turned in enough information. So I do really encourage, I'm happy, if it's easier just to email me rather than planning at ORC, I'm happy to do that. And I can get you the right file number and get you to the public records request.
I've had it to where I see the general land use announcements. I haven't been ever separately notified. Should I have gotten a separate notification or? Okay.
No, Bob LaSalle receives the pre-application notice that they're happening. So that's one thing that Bob can do is forward it on to maybe the chair if they know what neighborhood it's in. It's something you can do.
Yes, I do.
Oh, cool.
Well, what I'll do then, I'll be more conscientious about, I didn't realize you didn't get them. So I will, when I get them, I'll forward those to whatever neighborhood officers it applies to.
And the city right now does not have neighborhood association members sit at the pre-application conference as a policy decision. I can see both ways. I do know the applicants are able to ask kind of more what-if questions that they may not be able to ask if they know it's more of a public meeting. And so there's kind of pros and cons. And to me, it's really important, I think, that neighborhoods get the information, though it's hard. I understand both sides, but sometimes I'm able to have really good conversations with an applicant and tell them like, I don't think you want to do this, or this is going to have a lot of risk if you want to do this, or you may not want to pursue that, and it may not be the right audience if it's a more public meeting. So right now that's the policy in cities. I know City of Portland for a while had neighborhood associations in, but a lot of other cities don't. So it's kind of mixed on that approach. Do you have any questions?
And currently Pete Walter left. Do we have representation for Barclay Hills from planning?
I'm sorry.
Pete Walter has left. Is there representation for Barclay Hills currently?
Right now, I think we're reorganizing. We have 3 staff in our department right now, only 3 planners, and I don't know when the new position will be posted. So I think we're just kind of scrambling, and just call me, Carla, if you need questions. I'm happy to help. And I think the 3 of us that are here trying to cover everything, we'll do the best we can.
Thank you.
Let's see what's next. Sorry. Let's see. The one other item I wanted to bring up is House Bill 2001, which is we call the Housing Choices Update. The Senate legislature passed the House bill 2 years ago about adding additional requirements for missing middle housing in our residential zones. We did a big project two and a half years ago. It's not fully compliant with House Bill 2001. There's some additional code updates that still need to be made to be compliant. And that's actually a project I have been assigned, and I'll be making a presentation to the City Commission this August work session. And I'll be coming in front of the CIC in October, because we don't have a September meeting, as well as providing an update for our housing needs analysis, which was a joint project with Clackamas County. We'll be looking at countywide housing needs analysis and then a subcomponent of Oregon City, and we hope to have that adopted by the end of the year, and by October we'll have that draft. So we're looking at both of those together. We're putting together the public engagement project. I mean, we have a pretty tight timeline because it needs to be adopted by June 30th of next year, but we still want to be able to reach out, ask questions, provide code language, have updated it on the code language, and go to hearings in February. I just found out yesterday we got a grant that we applied for, which will be really helpful because I'll have some consultant help, because if not, it would just be me. So I'm really happy to have some help. There's some pretty strict requirements where we don't have a lot of options, but there are some places where there are some choices within pretty hard sideboards. And so my goal is to work with our boards and commissions and our city commission, our planning commission, and when there are options, kind of explain the pros and cons of things that are available within those sideboards and kind of come up with an Oregon City approach to implementing the code. The key thing is if we don't implement the code on June 30th, 2022, we are required to follow the model code, which was written as kind of, and like if there are sideboard options, they pick one for things, and we are by law, if an application came in the next day, we have to follow the model code if we don't adopt a code that meets the standards. So we have clear direction and a clicking clock. So I'll be back in October for that. And if you are interested in the project, you can watch the City Commission work session, and there is a blue project linked on the planning website. You get on the mailing list and put your email in and forward that to anybody who may be interested. We'll be reaching out to the OC 2040 group, as well as anybody who's involved in the Equitable Housing Project a couple years ago will be added to my outreach. And let's see. I think those are the major issues. In general, I'm one staff person. I know the comment beginning from Amy. I see myself as a CIC as a general liaison. So if you have a question, I might not be able to open a staff report if it's in their planner and give me the details. It's probably the person that is doing the project. But if you have a process question, if you have a noticing question, if you have an appeal question, if you have a general concern, I'm your liaison, let me know and I can pass it on. Some things are state law, so we're bound by it. Some are just been general practice policies, so there may be things that we can improve upon. And some things we've chosen a path based on balancing, pros and cons. So I'm here, I'm your liaison, let me know. I'm happy to forward that on or provide background. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Considering the late hour, the next subject is the roundtable.
The CSE.
Oh, I thought the bylaws, we didn't have to do.
Well, I think you can provide an update if you want to.
Well, I think that just under House Bill 2560, we can no longer have the provision. It used to say, let's see here, we would have ban electronic vote or telephonic vote. We can't do that anymore. So,
And that's for all public bodies, which would really be neighborhood associations through, our relationship for open meetings laws. So do look in your neighborhood association bylaws, and you might need to amend that to allow for, if you want to do Zoom voting, just to make sure you don't have like a old school way of saying like you can't vote by telephone, because you'll need to make sure you allow that as, you probably would by practice, but you need to update your own bylaws to encourage, and that's, I'm very excited. I know this is a little complicated today, but I think in the future, there'll always be an option for any city meeting to be able to be attended digitally. So, and not only listen digitally, but to interact digitally, so.
yeah, the only problem I ever had with voting telephonically is, do we really know that's the person on that telephone? Some people sound like other people. Yep. So you never know for sure if that's the other person. The chances of somebody trying to cheat that way are probably pretty small, but it's just the only thing that enters my mind.
Yeah.
The only other challenge I see is, okay, you present information at a meeting. There's a certain time that someone needs to vote. Like, what if they claim later, I guess you call it when you vote, but what if they don't completely listen to the presentation, they vote ahead of time? That's the only thing is, do they really understand?
I think you have to vote in the meeting.
Yeah.
I think they're just saying is you can't be, some would say you can't be voting from a conference call phone. Right. And now we have a lot more interactive with digital participation. But you wouldn't be voting pre-meditative.
So for clarification, Christina, does that mean that all of our neighborhood meetings, when we start meeting in person, we still have to do a Zoom?
I think you have to allow the opportunity if someone wanted to do if someone said, I really want to be involved in your neighborhood association, but for some reason I cannot attend, be it a disability, be it choice, whatever it is, that you have to provide some opportunity. And I am not an attorney, so I don't want to give you a legal answer, but we're kind of I know the city is kind of embracing this legislation for House Bill and trying to do whatever we can. And I'm happy to coordinate with our city reporter if you have any questions about things that we could do. Maybe you can check out a city laptop that night that may have a camera, if you need that.
Or a Zoom link.
Yeah.
Personal Zooms you can only do for 40 minutes or something?
So if someone needs a special accommodations, come talk to me as soon as you can, and I can work with our city reporter if we need to check something out for you. Same thing as we can check out, in previous where we had people wanted to have recorded or have some opportunity for hearing impaired, we were able to check out things. So I don't know the specifics, but our city reporter is empowered to kind of work with people requesting accommodations.
Okay, again, now considering the late hour, I would like to bypass the roundtable unless somebody has something really, really important that would affect the entire group. Linda.
I want to announce that this Sunday, Kanema is having an ice cream social in our children's place. And it's going to be between 6:30 and 8 o'clock in the evening. So that's 8. And I'm just really excited to get back together and see neighbors. He's waving at me.
Right. Good. Okay, anybody else? Oh, Karen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just quick. I'm assuming that, and I'm horrible at names, but Hazel Grove Westland Farms, are they still inactive?
Yes.
Yes, they are inactive.
Thursday morning, we did a groundbreaking for what is currently known as Silver Run Park. I met the most incredible neighbors up there. They do get out and get involved, and they've been working on the park. And had a nice chat with several of them, and the ground is broken and the park work is moving forward.
Good, I'm glad there's somebody out there active. One exception I'll make is our Commissioner Morrow. Did you have anything? Go ahead, Commissioner. Do you have anything for us?
At this moment, I do not. I was on vacation during the last commission meeting, so that's why I don't have a great answer on the Cove mitigation funding. And I do want to assure you guys that there is a sense of urgency on the commission. I will be having more conversations about that, but obviously more needs to be done than just conversations. And I hear you loud and clear on that. And so I believe that will be coming to us again soon. And so I appreciate the opportunity to hear that and just the opportunity to see your faces in person.
Well, vacation, how dost you? Amy.
Just 3 things real quick. We at the Gaffney Lane are looking for a new place to hold meetings. We would like to have it someplace in our neighborhood, so if anybody has any ideas, we aren't able to have it at the fire station. They don't have anything big enough for us. The First Street operations doesn't have any place secure enough. It would, unfortunately, you'd have access to too much of the building. So unless it's a one-off, they don't have anything. So if anybody has any ideas for us, we prefer not to have it in a church or a senior center due to whatever you want to call it, people's preferences. We have a concern about spam. I forwarded to Christina.
Oh, that was the thing.
I don't know if you guys are getting spammed, but my secretary is constantly getting spams from between us. I propose that they just take off our emails and have somebody at city forward them to us if we need to, because I'm done with the spam. So when I'm done, you can fill us in real quick. Just third thing real quick is there was only 3 of us that attended the first held a city commission meeting at the new chambers. I don't know if people are aware. I wasn't aware until I got a picture of We Miss You, and I could tell in the background that they weren't down here. So my understanding is that the city commission, the planning commission, and historic review board will be meeting at the new chambers, all other boards and commissions here. So if you're like me and you didn't see the teeny little print at the top that showed a new location, it's a new location. This is a better place for hearing until they get that sound figured out, but it is a big, huge chamber, so that's what I've got.
Thank you, Amy. Is it all right if I respond to Amy? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was missing on my question. This is the overview of what's been happening is for a long time, CIC members and neighborhood association chairs, somebody is loud in the background, have just had their emails on the separate. So, in some sense it was great because people could find you and talk to you and then there was some spam and I worked with our city recorder and now you have to kind of right click and then your email comes up. So you have to do an action to get the email rather than just having it be scanned. So it sounds like that's still an issue. I guess I could send out a questionnaire if people want to take it off and I could refer to my email if people wanted it. If you want to keep it on, we don't have to have everybody's the same. Everybody's the same. So if this is something the CIC wants, I can send out a survey for each neighborhood. Do you want your name available as a click to email? If not, would you like it where they need to email me and I will send them the information. So it doesn't have to be done. I can send that survey by email and people can respond.
And Christina and Karen, I did get 2 more emails supposedly from Ed that were very clearly directed that as part of the Rivercrest Neighborhood Association, I was to send money to some VA thing. So somebody is picking information along with those emails.
Yeah.
And I actually, another website that I take care of, it's really hard to totally mask those emails. I'm not quite sure what the solution is, but at least I knew Ed didn't really need the money from me for once. And I just jokingly, I'm offended. I think CIC and any committee I serve on should meet at those beautiful new chambers. because all I have to do is walk next door.
Yeah, right.
Well, la-di-da.
Okay, Adam?
Yeah, about the new commission chambers, I just wanted to clarify that this Wednesday's commission meeting will actually be in these chambers. And I just double checked the agenda because I didn't want to get my words wrong there, but we've been flip-flopping and because of the audio-visual issues at the new Libkey Public Safety Building, we will be meeting here. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm assuming until the audio-visual issues get resolved that it will be here.
So are we, our neighbors asked to just watch online, or are we gonna allow people to come here and listen to them live?
Oh, for city commission?
Yeah, for the city commission meeting.
Yeah, for, the new city policy is all people inside the building need to be masked, but there can be attendees to city commission
Okay.
meetings. Mhm.
Because I know we're restricted by space.
No, but you are restricted by wearing mask coverings.
Didi?
I have two quick things. One, I picked up the newspaper today, and Christopher Saggs is on our city planning commission and has an active suit with our city. I think that he should maybe step down off the city planning commission as a developer, just saying there's a conflict of interest. Also, I was in the city planning building the other day, and I went back to, because I needed some help. On your message machine for city planning, they say the building is still closed. They need to change their messages. So you can just send out a memo to everyone. Some people have changed theirs, but on the average, most of them have
Is it
not.
an individual one, Didi? Or is it
It was the city planning is where I called. And that's where I got the message.
The main number?
Huh?
The main 722?
Yes,
Okay.
and then they switched me over to a cell phone, and that was also on
Okay.
their message machine and their voicemail.
I will do that.
Linda?
I'll make myself a note.
Well, if Christopher Staggs needs to resign, then Paul Legger needs to resign from the HRB, because he brought a suit against them. I mean, he's a member. I think this is the first time ever an HRB member brought a suit against something too. Goes both ways.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all for tonight. I would like to say that this CIC is becoming what it used to be. The active participation of all the members of this committee is just incredible. And it makes me, I don't usually use the word giddy, so I won't, but it makes me happy to see all this participation. It really feels good. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And Bob, I have to echo John Lewis, we're good trouble.